Recently, I've been doing what I call raw dog reels, just on Instagram, seeing something that I find interesting that I think is useful, grabbing my phone, recording up to 3 minutes worth of video just off the cuff straight away with a tiny bit of a framework to it and posting it. And it has been hugely effective. It has reactivated so many followers that and even old clients and stuff like that haven't been noticing my stuff before. It's hugely increased the amount of conversations that I'm having and the amount of people that feel like they actually care about what's going on in terms of if I've got a new YouTube video or anything else. And most importantly, I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but it's made me over £10,000 in sales in the last 7 days just from conversations that started from these raw dog reels. That's in sales, and I have cash collected in the last 7 days, £8,700. Not all of that is from the raw dog reels, but about £7,000 of that is from directly the raw dog reels in collecting cash. So these work really, really well for making sales and getting people that are in your audience, a growing audience as well, but getting people in your audience to actually care. So you're in for a treat because I've just recorded a 45-minute training on these for clients. I go into why they're so useful, understanding how this is useful right now with the algorithm and the post-follower era of social media. My ad strategy that I'm running around this, because I'm also using ads when it comes to the raw dog reels. And if you understand this and you use this yourself, you will be doing every single reel becomes an asset, and it can become an ad. And then exactly how to actually do them, how to think about doing them, how to actually use. There's a framework to actually be able to use everything. So there's a lot in this video, but it is going to show you exactly how to do them. And then I suggest that you go and start doing 1 to 3 raw dog reels every single day and just see what it does to your business. Okay, guys, let's get this show on the road. So real quick mini training going over the raw dog reel. So if you don't know what I'm on about, this is where we pretty much just grab the phone. We see something that we want to talk about on Instagram, and we just talk to the phone for about up to 3 minutes and put some subtitles on it and post it. And it's working really, really well. I'm going to share some stats in a second. But this is a video just to get you out of your own head with it, because honestly, it's super easy, but explain why they're so good. Explain how to do it, even though it is pretty easy. And then to get you actually doing it. So let's get into it. The raw dog reel. So here's why this is really important, right? People don't pay attention until they feel you. And I found this out the hard way. So across the entirety of last year, I was experimenting with ads in different ways and, playing around with them. And there was a certain point where I realized, I could get email opt-ins really, really easy and really, really cheap. And good quality people. They weren't, from the wrong countries or anything. So it wasn't cheap because of that. I just realized, okay, this works. I can get email opt-ins really easily. So I thought for a while that all I would need to do was have people come in from cold, become an email subscriber, and the rest is history. Eventually they're going to buy. And I held on to that hope for a while. And, other than some stragglers, it didn't happen that way. Actually, as my email subscribers increased, from cold traffic coming in and opting in for something, I didn't really feel any difference it didn't feel like there was any more people on my email list. And that's because, yes, although I was signing up or getting email opt-ins, they'd never actually felt me unless they really watched the thing that they were getting for free, and most people didn't. They never actually felt me. Now, when people when you do a low ticket product, it can be different because they're going to consume it. But without that, they never really felt me, right? So they weren't following along to YouTube or even caring about offers very much and everything else. So, I realized the hard way that people do not pay attention until they feel you. And any way, shape, or form that we can get someone to actually feel us online, we should be jumping on. Because once someone feels you, they will then be following you around the rest of the internet, actually caring about what you have to say. So this is why I love the Raw Dog Reels, because it really does do that. It allows people to actually feel you. You literally see something that happens, you have an idea, you grab your phone, you record and you talk, you add captions and hook text, and you upload. It's really, really easy. You can literally do one a day easily, like add that on top of everything else and it won't get in the way. You can do 3 a day sometimes because the ideas are just going to flow. And it's really easy. And the biggest thing is people actually feel you, right? This is something that I've felt hugely since doing these for not that long. People will actually feel you. They'll start to see your personality, what you're all about, your thought process, your philosophies. And interestingly, they then care about everything else that you do, right? For example, weird example, but I'm watching the Tyson Fury documentary at the moment, like or reality TV show, like At Home with the Furies or whatever. Obviously, I'm into boxing and I would always watch a Tyson Fury fight anyway. But I bet there's loads and loads of people who will have watched that At Home with the Furies program. And now because they have felt Tyson Fury a little bit more and they know a bit more about him and they've seen him, in action a little bit more in terms of just being alive and a human, when he next fights, they will probably tune in and watch it because they care about him, even if they're not that into boxing, right? And the same goes for us. If no one feels us, then they're not going to follow us over to the platforms with a little bit more friction, like YouTube, or they're not. Even if they they do end up on our email list, they may not actually take the time to actually read those emails. So getting someone to feel you is really, really important. And the Raw Dog Reel is the best way to do that. Now, I've literally been doing these for probably about 3 weeks or maybe 4. Since doing around 1 to 3 Raw Dog Reels a day, most days, not always counting Saturdays and Sundays, but Mondays to Fridays, it will end up at least 1 a day most of the time. Sometimes up to 3 because I just record and post. I don't kind of like hold them and keep them up. So followers came in fast. So I've gained, I had to just quickly check there, I gained 218 followers in the last 30 days. There's unfollowers as well. So I think the net ended up at about 80 something, 89 or something like that followers net. But new followers is more important because if you're losing followers, that's actually a good thing. And if you're becoming more active, you will lose more followers as well because you're actually being noticed. So even losing more followers is probably a good sign because it means that you're being seen and noticed. But 218 new followers in the last 30 days, which is nice. Interestingly, old followers and clients started re-engaging. So a huge amount of people that I knew followed me but I hadn't seen for a very long time started liking, engaging, and actually some even messaging me and talking about it. And it did create way more conversations overall. And even sometimes it's old followers that are now, chatting again. And some have even signed up because directly from doing this over the last 2 weeks, I've managed to make £10,000 in sales. So probably 7K in cash, but then more contracted sales, probably something like that, directly from people coming back into my world or being in my world or actually caring about what I have to say from these Raw Dog Reels. And remember, like that's not bad, right? For 2 weeks as well. And that is, so it happens very quickly. And that is for such a low effort thing to lay on the rest of the ecosystem. How good is that? Interestingly as well, engagement in my stories has gone up. People care a lot more. It's interesting. Like I'll post a story and, before I know this isn't much, but it's just another interesting signal, right? I know that this really isn't going to pay for the bills story likes, but I'll post before I would post a story and maybe get no likes, maybe get 1, 2, 3 likes. Nowadays I'm posting a story and it's just anything and I'll get like 8 likes, 9 likes. So people are clearly like, there's something there where people feel more comfortable liking things and engaging and everything else. As I said, more conversations happening. Interestingly, over the last 30 days, my profile link clicks, which goes into a funnel that's going to sell something, has gone up by 50%. And even when it's organic, so when I just do a reel and it's organic, something must have changed with the algorithm, because even if I don't think about this one bit, like most are seen by 50% non-followers. And this is just the way that the algorithm's working now. So like posting reels is a very good way of being able to bring in new followers. Surprise, surprise. Also, I don't know, I haven't looked into much to this, but there is the option of doing trial reels as well. Trial reels are interesting because they can go to 100% non-followers. I've heard from people that doing those, especially if you have an audience that isn't perfectly your kind of people, doing these reels as trial reels first can be very, very good, because then it can go to the actual right people and bring in the right people. Just beware, like just get your mind ready that views and engagement goes down when you're posting more. When you're there more, views and engagement is going to go down. But it's okay because sales goes up, and that's all that really matters. Another thing that I didn't write in that I think is really important as well is these raw dog reels feel like a really good. One thing I do say is it's like a window into your world, your personality, and everything else, which is really helpful. But it also feels like a really good way to speak about less advanced things. You may not be like this, but I am, which is when I sit down to create content, when I'm writing an email, when I'm doing YouTube, it's really easy for me to go like sometimes like too advanced or too complex or too, it can go over a lot of people's heads. And with these raw dog reels, because I'm just finding something in the moment and commenting on it, a lot of the content is a lot more simpler and a lot easier to understand for a lot of people, especially because it's straight away in context. One of the things I say to people when it comes to content is if you're talking too theoretically, sometimes whether it's written or video, sometimes it's hard for people to cling on to it and understand what you're talking about. As soon as you start to talk about a story or like put it into some sort of understandable context, people can instantly understand it, whether it's directly saying a story from real life or you're talking about something that people already know, and then you're able to kind of comment on that. So why do they work so well? As you can see, this is pretty good, right? And like I said, this is layered onto the rest of the ecosystem. This gets people to care. This is this kind of mostly like top of funnel stuff. People are going to know about you. They're going to care about what you have to say, and then they can go into the rest of it. It's not really a replacement for much. It's more just the perfect thing to layer on, and it's so easy. But why do they work so well? Number one, it's really, really easy to share your life, your world, your philosophies, and your personality, right? It is a window into your world. Other than just having someone following you about with a camera at all times, it's the lowest friction, easiest way to be able to turn your life into content. Whatever is happening, whatever's going on, you can just grab your phone and you can record a reel, and you can even do it in that moment as well. We always talk about world building. This is one of the coolest ways to do it, because if I'm constantly doing these reels and they are including people in my world, if they are in the environments of my world and the scenes of my world, like the office here and everything else, very quickly people are going to start to associate me with certain things, which is world building. And especially in the AI era, one of the probably the biggest thing is these are human and real, not real. These are human and they are real, right? Which is, as my hypothesis for the future is, this is just going to become more and more and more important, that people can just feel you when everything is from robots and AI created and everything else. The more real someone can actually feel, the more that people are going to care. And this is exactly why I think things are leaning so much more towards raw and unedited, because I also think that the more that something is edited and the more that there's like more things around it, it's harder to feel that actual person and get that connection. And we are moving into an era now where people buy people more than ever. Why they work so well, number two, it's really easy to share high volume and build time on brand, right? So one of the biggest things that's going to create sales is time on brand. People spending a long time watching you. Now, yes, long form video like YouTube is really good for that as well, but you need people to watch it. And if people don't care in their lowest friction environment, then it's going to be very hard to take them over to a higher friction environment. So YouTube's still really important, but if you're doing like long form 20, 30-minute YouTube videos going really deep and they're amazing, but these people don't know, like, or care about you yet, it's going to be very hard to take them onto a higher friction platform like YouTube and have them commit more. But the beauty of the Raw Dog Reels is they're on Instagram. They are the lowest friction platform. Your audience are probably already just scrolling through Instagram anyway. You know, they're just scrolling through. This is where they hang out and where they're just kind of like spending time without looking for anything necessarily, right? So it's the lowest friction platform. They're already there. So you can be popping up here consistently, especially if you're doing 2 to 3 a day. You're going to be talking to them for like 9 minutes a day, every single day. It builds know, like, and trust. And then because they start to understand you, start to know you, they start to care about you, then you have earned the right to be able to take them to a higher friction platform, like caring about your emails. We still want them on the email list either way, but caring about them and actually reading them is a different story. And spending time with your YouTube. They also, I've found that you get like an endless amount of ideas when you start doing it. So we've got this reticular activating system, right? It finds your biases, or if you've got something on the top of your mind, or basically everything that we can, as we go through the world, we are constantly hit with loads and loads of signals from the world, and we would never be able to understand all of it at once. So we basically have a lens, and that lens is based on, you know, what we're thinking at the time, what we're feeling at the time. If we're hungry, we're going to see different things of our kind of like values and our hierarchy of what's important and everything else. And through that lens, you know, a couple of signals come through, and we kind of take those signals and think about them in different ways. Basically, everyone sees the world completely differently based on all of this. And when you start to get into a flow, like after that little science lesson there, when you start to get into a flow of creating these pieces of content every single day, you actually start to get more ideas because you're just going through life with this lens of subconsciously looking for real ideas, and you will just get an endless amount. Once you start doing them, you basically, you can't stop. This is why when I'm on a really good flow and my energy's high, I'll do like 3 or 4 sometimes a day, and like I'll get 3 or 4 videos done a day without even meaning to. It just happens. And another reason why they work so well is the post follower algorithm rewards it. So we are in the era of social media now where the algorithms are post follower algorithms. What that means is basically the Instagram algorithm, for example, focuses so much more on your interests that you have shown already than than who you follow. So you can click follow on all these different people, but it's going to show you the things that you're already watching more of. It's the same with YouTube. If you go onto YouTube homepage, it's not necessarily your subscribers that pop up. That helps, but it's more so what you've already been watching, and then it's going to suggest more things like that, because clearly that's the thing that's going to keep people on the platforms. So the algorithms basically work where you don't necessarily need to have this person as a follower to have yourself showing up consistently on their page every single day. So, you know, you can sign people up that don't even necessarily follow you, but you keep showing up. So the algorithm focuses more on that, but it also means that if someone watches or engages on one video, let's say that a video pops up and yeah, they watch it, you are way more likely to pop up again and again and again. So eventually, because, you know, how are most people using Instagram nowadays? They just kind of scroll on Reels. Eventually, every day they're scrolling, if you're posting every day, you can be popping up every day without them even following you. So by the time that you come around with some sort of ad, and you're going to see my ads strategy in a second, they might not even follow you, but they already know you and they've already spent time with you. This is the ad part. So another final reason why they work so well is leverage. So when I was starting to do these with leverage in mind, I thought, I don't want to put loads of effort into Instagram Reels and for them to just die out in 24 hours. I want a bit more leverage. I want each one to become an asset. Now, what I have found is that doesn't actually happen anymore anyway. it does seem like even when they're organic, these reels can last for a very long time. And weeks after one of my reels, it continuously got likes and engagement and follows from it. But I found a way to have some great leverage with the assets that we're producing and turning them into assets instead of just a piece of content that lasts for 12 hours, which is every single one can become a top of funnel ad. So here's what I mean. Every single reel that I create has a chance to become a top of funnel ad. At the end of every week, so on a Friday, right, I go back through my week of reels and I take the ones that are really specific to the people that I'm trying to attract and I add them to this big ad set, which is on Meta, which is set to a through play campaign or a through play objective. What that basically means is I've got probably about 10 or 15 now reels in one ad set that I'm putting currently about £45 a day into it. And Meta is going around and showing, and a bit of targeting and stuff, and Meta is going around and showing these reels to everyone in the UK who fits into the who they believe is going to be interested and watch it. A through play, because that's the objective, means that someone has watched it for 15 seconds or more. So Meta's going around with my reels that I've created, and I'm just adding more all of the time, so they don't just die out. They are then being sent around the UK. So everyone eventually is going to know my face. They're going to know my voice. They're going to know my name. And the interesting thing is the ads are so much cheaper. So when you do ads, there's something called CPM, which is cost per milli or something like that. It's basically cost per 1,000 impressions. So if your CPM is high, it literally means that your ad is high and that your ad costs are high, and the pounds that you spend on your ads aren't doing as much as they would if it was lower. If you do normal ads where you're driving people to a funnel, it could be like 30 or 40 pounds CPM. So you're paying about 30 or 40 pounds or more sometimes to be able to send this ad to 1,000 people. Because these kinds of ads, you're actually keeping people on the site and you're not trying to drive them off. CPM is so much lower, and it's actually £2. Currently for me, it's £2 CPM, which means I pay £2 instead of 20 or 30 or 40. I'm paying £2 to show my ad or my reel to 1,000 people. So you can imagine how that adds up. And if you can just see over here on Instagram, you can see the ones that have been picked up by the ads, like this one, 85,000 views. There's a few more, probably a few more. I don't know which ones else. Oh yeah, 44,000 views. I can't find any more. There's probably some more. You're probably seeing them as you go through because there's more. There you go. 126,000 views. This one. This one did really good, and this one's a good example because I was walking home from the gym, and I just had an idea because I just sent a voice note, and I just thought I'm gonna raw dog that shit, and it did really good normally anyway, and then it did really good as the ad as well. So you see that's been seen by 126,000 people. So I do that, and that creates my top of funnel campaign. Then, if you're interested, I then have a bottom of funnel ads, retargeting, through plays, and Instagram followers. So then, basically, that top of funnel is going to be picking up through plays. So it's going to be sending to people that are going to watch 15 seconds, and then it's going to be like, adding them into a little audience. And then it's also going to be adding also the people that follow me on Instagram into a little audience. And then my bottom of funnel ads, which are the ones that drive towards my VSL and then make an offer and sell something, they're floating around towards these people. So my ads are only, so people are still going to be going onto my email list, but they're only people that already know me and have seen me in action and everything else. By the way, if you are thinking of doing this, we can work on it together. But if you do not have a funnel yet, if you don't have like a funnel where you're driving people to a VSL and then something else, instead of doing through play, you're probably best off doing your profile visit ads, because if you don't have a funnel, your Instagram is your funnel. So we should be sending them to the profile. So that's why they're so useful. So if you're not sold yet, you should be. Now let's go into how to actually do them, because there's a couple of things to think about. So first of all, the logistics. Honestly, logistically, they're really, really, really easy. I've written this whole thing for basically to have one main point to be able to say here, which is try and keep the length under 3 minutes. Because like you should be able to keep everything under 3 minutes. If you're not able to, it will not go to it will not be sent to non-followers. So only reels that are under 3 minutes will be sent to non-followers. So have an idea, grab the camera and hit record and keep it under 3 minutes. I like to have these recorded in different places when possible. So a little bit of movement is usually good to keep people engaged just psychologically. But I also like to think if I'm in a cool location, I'd like to record something. If I have an idea, I'd like to record it in different places so it's not always the same. For me personally, this is just because I quite like this. I like setting them up, like, setting this one up in a coffee shop and doing a cool one, setting this one up when I was in Lisbon and doing a cool one. I quite like doing that. It's just something that I like to do, making them look cool if you want to as well. And then I just upload it to the Edits app, add captions. I usually keep the captions and everything exactly the same so it's consistent. Add text, hook, title, and upload. So one thing that's very important when you're doing these reels is your first 3 seconds is the hook. That's really important. But also part of the hook is what you write here to create some curiosity or to tell them what's going to happen. So getting punched helps me grow my business. What does that mean? They watch. The best marketing strategy, do cool stuff. They probably want to learn a little bit more, right? This started with a picture of Jim Skin as well. So that is also a hook in itself, right? So that first 3 seconds, visually and audibly, what you say are both parts of the hook. And then you upload it. And upload it and fucking forget about it. Don't worry about the engagement. Just upload it. So how do I do them? Don't talk about your big idea, talk through it. So this is a really important piece of knowledge, whether you like for any format of content. But we talk about, your philosophies, your mechanisms, and your big ideas, right? The mistake that some people or many people make is, okay, they've got their big idea. Let's say mine is building a signal brand, right? You need to be unique to stand out and build this. You need to be unique and stand out to be able to build your coaching business. That's my big idea, my core philosophy, and I call it the signal brand. If I only spoke about it directly, which was like, here's what a signal brand is, here's how a signal brand helps, it's going to get really old really quickly. And I'm also not going to be able to say that many things about it. That would be talking about the big idea. Instead, we want to talk through the big idea. What that means is you look through the lens of your big idea. So you see these events that are happening in the world and you comment on it through your lens and through your philosophy. Does that make sense? And this is how everything becomes unique, because another thing that I say is if you're doing a reel and someone else could say the exact same thing, then don't bother saying it. So the way that we do these, right? You're going through life, you're coaching clients, you're doing everything else. Maybe you see something like, for example, the Manosphere documentary was a good thing to be able to comment on because other people knew what it was. Whatever it is, you might see this thing and you don't just say that this thing happened. You see it specifically, you uniquely see it through your lens. Your lens is your philosophies. It's your, like, what you believe to be true. Your lens is your mechanisms and the way that you think that this stuff should happen. Your lens is your big idea. So then you comment on the thing based on the way that you see the world. So then people are not just hearing you say words, but they're seeing and understanding how you see the world, your point of view, right? An example of this is I saw a Claude carousel maker. So Claude making carousels. I thought it was cool. But then I saw, like 2 days later, I saw like 4 or 5 people using the exact same carousel and I could notice it and they all looked the same. So then I did a reel on that. No script, I just did the reel. I commented on that and I brought it back to the importance of standing out and being unique, especially in the AI era, right? Someone else might see that event and comment something different, but I saw that and I spoke about the event and then I finished off by bringing it back to my big idea. You don't have to talk about it constantly, but that's just the way that you are going to see this stuff through, Another thing that I have found really useful with these raw dog reels, because people are curious, because people are just nosy, and because we need to remember why they're using Instagram, right? They're just curious. I found that when I spend longer talking about the situation or my experience or my story before getting to the big point that I'm trying to make and turning it into a bit of a teach, it works better. So if I say the hook and then I go straight into teaching, it doesn't seem to work as well as if I say the hook, and then I have a bit of time talking about like a story or an experience or anything else, or a philosophy of mine, and then bringing it around into a teach. So I'll give you some examples of this. In this one, I said the best marketing strategy, do cool stuff. So this was about if you do cool stuff, like doing cool stuff is the best marketing strategy, basically. But I decided specifically to talk. The cool stuff that I was doing, by the way, was the Marbella event. I decided specifically I'm going to talk about my example of this for way longer than I might have normally done it, and then I'll turn it into why this is useful, right? So I spoke a lot about my Marbella event, why that's cool, why that's helpful, and then I turned it into usefulness. Here, telling your audience they're allowed to have an Easter egg. This one was good. It created some controversy as well. But here, I spent a long time talking just without actually mentioning business or usefulness at all. I started just talking about, I find it weird that I find it weird that a man would literally just be excited on a Wednesday to have an Easter egg on Saturday. Like they're actually looking forward to it and stuff. And I spoke a lot about my view on, you know, when I was a fitness coach, how I would never like do posts about you're allowed to have an Easter egg, because I didn't want to work with men that felt they needed someone else to tell them that. And then I basically, after all of that, I brought it into the point, which is don't just do content because everyone else is doing it and because it's seasonal and you feel like you should. Think about it. If that content actually is going to be useful for someone, do you want to actually work with those people? Because if not, do not do it. So there was a point at the end, but a lot of the time I was just talking from my own perspective, and it seems to do better. Another thing that I think I've actually forgotten to write in here, which is congruency is the thing that makes this really easy, right? And it goes with all of this. And this is huge, which is there are like two sides to this coin. There is your values and your philosophies. And then on the other side, there is your world, your offer, your mechanisms. So when those two things are congruent, right? So you've started with your values and your philosophies and everything, and you know, you truly believe in these things. And then from that place, first of all, you've built your world intentionally around that. So not even anything to do with business now, but your life, your world, the things that you spend time doing, the things that you see are actually congruent with your values and philosophies, number one. Number two, your offer, the thing that you're helping people with, is congruent with your values and your philosophies, and you're actually embodying that already. Like you are embodying the person that you're wanting to become and you want to help your clients become. And number three, the mechanisms, the way that you help people get results is aligned with your values and your philosophies and everything else. When these two things are congruent, all of this becomes so easy, because your world and your life is a reflection of your content, your values and your philosophies. Everything is a reflection of your values and your philosophies. So you can literally on almost anything just pick up the phone and record, and it is going to be useful. Number two, on how to do them. Do not be afraid of controversy and being seen. So controversy, this is probably one of the easiest places to create controversy, right? Because sometimes it can be hard with an email or anything else, but on Reels, you know, it's very easy on Raw Dog Reels to grab the phone and just say a potentially polarizing opinion. And by the way, they don't even always need to be about business. Sometimes having these Reels and sharing just some of yourself is also a very useful thing to do. So do not be afraid of controversy, but also do not be afraid of being seen. Sometimes with these Raw Dog Reels, because you can't hide behind edits, you're not hiding behind scripts, you're not hiding behind a keyboard and email writing and stuff, they can feel quite vulnerable. They can feel like people are seeing the real me here. Like that's the vulnerability. You're not crying on it or anything. You're not being vulnerable in that way, but people are just seeing the real you a lot of the time. And I don't know about you, but for me, there has been, you know, posts that I've done where I have felt a bit edgy, because just simply because I felt like if someone consumed this piece of content, they would see me clearer than ever before. And that always felt a bit edgy for me. And it always felt a bit like, oh, I feel like I don't want to post this a little bit, but it's always a sign that it's actually going to work really, really well. And it always has done. Also, it might feel a bit edgy because someone might disagree that on the thing that you're saying. that is good, right? So lean into the things that you already truly believe, but they are quite controversial. And remember, we want to create discussion or just disagreement, because that creates engagement, and that's actually going to get it spreading even further. And really remember, the more that you repel, the more that you attract. If you're saying something because you believe it, you're happy to say this, you actually do believe it, but it's something that not everyone would say, because it might not be so, I don't know, it might not be perfectly politically correct to be able to say this, or it might upset some people or something. Saying that thing, if you do truly believe it, is going to be the thing that attracts the people that actually want to say that thing as well, but they might not, or they didn't expect you to say it. Lower the bar. So this might sound a bit weird, but honestly, the killer of content, and especially this type of content, is perfectionism. When we think that this content needs to be perfect. So think about all the reels that pop up when you're scrolling, right? You're just scrolling, you're laying there, you're scrolling. Does those reels need to be perfectly polished for you to actually care? Are you scrolling through and then you're like, this isn't like the perfect lighting. This reel isn't this or that. I'm not going to watch it. No, you don't care, because you're just watching a human say some things or do some things, and you're interested, right? So honestly, lowering the bar of how amazing you think these pieces of content need to be will do way more good than bad. Because again, people want to feel the raw humanness anyway. People want to just have a window into your life. And when you do lower the bar, it will be so much easier to create at a high volume when you lower the bar. And honestly, for me, sometimes lowering the bar of what I like, not necessarily how it looks, but also the idea that I'm sharing. Not that it's a bad idea, but it's not that like advanced, or it's not that like complicated, has actually been sometimes some of the best reels, because because sometimes all of us do this. We talk to a sophistication level that's way higher than most of our people will actually understand. So sometimes a simpler, easier idea is actually the most useful thing we can do. And a real good frame here is post on reels what you used to post on stories, right? So, you're probably still jumping on stories and actually sharing some things and jumping and speaking to the camera. Like, a lot of those now should just be reels. That's the shift. And finally, how to do them, right? So your raw dog flow, planning your reels. So I don't actually plan, most of mine I don't plan at all. And you definitely shouldn't script them. But every now and then I will plan them. And I know that sometimes, I know that you guys sometimes want a framework at least to start with. So this is the perfect framework to plan any content, but especially your raw dog reels, especially if you find yourself rambling, you find yourself going over the 3 minutes, or really important, you find yourself not reaching a clear payoff, right? Because this is one of the things I notice a lot with people's content, which is they either have no clear payoff, it's just like content, but there's no like, oh, now I understand, or they hit millions of different payoffs. Like, as you go through the content, there's like big idea here, big idea here, big idea here, like payoff all the way through. And it's hard to actually know what you were meant to get out of it. So first of all, remember, for the idea, let me get this up because I forgot to put it in the actual thing. Let me see if I can show you this. The idea comes from this, remember. Yeah, you can see that. The idea comes from this, right? You observe an event, but you don't just talk about that event, and it could be a tip or anything else, but you don't just talk about it, you don't just share it. It goes through your philosophy, your lens, your story, that you ask yourself, hello, do I have any personal stories about this? What do I believe about this? What does this mean compared to my big idea? Like, does this back it up, or does it go against it, or anything? And then that becomes your unique perspective on the event or the thing, right? That's how we do this stuff. So that gives us the idea. And then we do it like this. So here's the anatomy of a raw dog reel or anything else. First of all, you come up with the idea, which you're usually just going to see, and it's just going to happen, which is, okay, I saw this thing, this is the idea. And then as someone watches it, it goes through these stages. There's a hook, so something to hook them in. Remember, the hook is not just what you say in the first 3 seconds, but it's also the visual cue as well. Like, what are they seeing in the first 3 seconds? So the text as well. And then you have the build, which is building up to a payoff or an insight. So building up, it might be a story or something else. And then finally, it all gets paid off. And you want to build a bit of tension here. So they want to be understanding or there's a story maybe that's like, they want to know what happens. And then there's a payoff. There's an insight. There's oh my God, I can see it now, And then we finish with a call to action if you want to do a call to action. I think sometimes call to actions can kind of kill the engagement, so I don't always do them. But here's the important thing. You record it forwards, of course. You go through the hook, the build, the insight. But the best way to do this is you want to actually build this backwards. So when you're sitting there and you're planning this, you want to plan it backwards, because when you plan it backwards, you can actually plan the cadence of what's going on in the video so much better. So here's how you plan it backwards. I'm going to need to just think about an idea here. So let me think about some experiences that I had yesterday that will come up with an idea, because this is where you want to get these ideas from. It's just like, what's going on in your own life, in your own coaching or anything else that you can turn into ideas. So I know one. So I was on a coaching call yesterday, right? And I was coaching call with Rich. So this is literally how, like, as quickly as you can plan these out. I was on a coaching call with Rich, and we spoke about, so this isn't actually, this is just the idea that's going to become something, right? So I was on a call with Rich, and what did we speak about? We spoke about how to, making personal decisions, making business decisions from personal needs, right? And sometimes this doesn't have to go in here, but sometimes I think, like, what do I want the vehicle explaining this to be? Because this is an idea that can become an insight, right? I have in the past made business decisions from personal needs, but I was also talking about it with Rich. So I've got two options for the vehicle, and this is all going to make sense when I bid it all out. So I've got two options for the vehicle. Number one is I was talking to a client, explain Rich's problem. The other vehicle is, well, and again, if I put it through this lens, is, well, when did I experience this? Well, I experienced this when I was living in Dubai and I got bored. So my Dubai story. So then I'm like, I've got this idea. What vehicle do I want to do? I think actually, although Rich and the conversation yesterday gave me the idea, I think I'll do the Dubai story. So then I take this away. So then we've got the idea and the vehicle, right? Now we go all the way down to the insight straight away. So as this reel builds up, we don't know what we're going to say yet, but as this reel builds up, what do we want the insight or the payoff to be? What do we want the big understanding to be? So then it, like, after the reel, even if they didn't think about this, if someone asked them, like, what did you get out of this reel? It would be this, and we build up to this. And I'll tell you, if you are making business decisions from personal needs, your business will fail. Right? So that's the insight. That's what people need to understand. Now, without the build, without everything else, it actually almost doesn't make sense, right? So then we go backwards. Okay, how do I build up to this insight so it makes sense and people are interested the entire time? So then, and you don't script this, you just have bullet points. So, in Dubai, all external needs met with 6-figure fitness business. I was fully one-dimensional with my business, with all in on business. Once I got bored with the business, I needed to change it, ruined business. I made a business decision from personal need, right? So just to explain that, I was really one-dimensional with business. I got really, really bored of the business because it wasn't aligned with my values anymore. But because I wasn't getting my personal needs met anywhere else, I needed to change the business, and I only needed to change it because I needed to meet my own personal needs. So I made a business decision to meet personal needs, which may have made me feel better personally, but it actually ruined the business. So I made a business decision from a personal need. So then the insight is, so listen, if you're making business decisions from personal needs, your business will fail. This is why it's important. I'm just making this up on the spot. It's important to meet your personal needs outside of business so you can think businessy inside business, right? And then we have a hook. So do you see when you go backwards, you can actually start to engineer this properly? Because if I had the hook the first time, it would have, here's what usually happens. The hook is the insight. The hook would have then been, if you're making business decisions based on needs, your business will fail. But the hook wants to like grab people's attention and they want to be like, what are you talking about? And then they want to learn more. So the hook here could be, let's think, if your business makes you too happy, it will fail, right? Can you see how this, once they watch the whole thing, this kind of makes sense, but straight away it's disruptive. You're like, what are you talking about? You know, if your business makes you too happy, you will fail. Let me explain. A couple of years ago, I was in Dubai, blah, 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 insight, and then, you know, call to action. You can or you can't do it. Call to action could be easy. But do you see how you write it backwards? I've got just this, and then I can record that, and it's really easy. So this is the flow of creating your raw dog reels. So finally for you, next steps. Here's what you do with this, right? You don't need any more information. I've given you everything you need to know about raw dog reels. Everything else is going to come from doing them and learning along the way. And do think about that as well. As you are doing them, the beauty is the more that you can do so many of these and you will do a lot and you will learn a lot and you will just get better at doing it. But as you put it out, you're getting data back. You're getting a constant feedback loop back, which is the best way to learn. So you're going to be able to get better over the months and months and months. Here's what you want to do. Starting today, commit to 1 to 3 raw dog reels per day. I do usually 1 to 3 Monday to Friday. Find a flow that is easy. One thing that helps me is in my morning writing block, when I'm writing my email, I also sit down and I just think back through everything. What's happened in my life? What have I done recently? What's happened with clients? Any wins? Anythings, right? I think about all of that and I think, is there one reel that I can write down today and map out, and then I can just go and do it in any place when it looks cool? But you also want to find a flow that's easy, so you can habit stack it. For example, you might walk the dog every single day. So, you know, stack that with doing a reel. So you can walk and then you can do a reel. Or one thing that I actually do is after a load of client calls, I will sit down, or after mastermind, I'll sit there and I will think, what was like one insight from there that I could turn into a reel? That literally was, which one was it? That was this one. I just finished the group call and I thought, what is coming to mind right now from all of those calls that I've just did? And I did that. Commit to this for 2 to 3 weeks and see what happens.